Find yourself a booth, order up a cold one. This is the Spring Bar.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Spring Bar. Glad to have you here. I am Florida Mike, today with my co-host Joe in the OC. Joe, how you doing today?
It's weird, dude. It's a Tuesday.
I was going to say that. It feels a little odd, feels a little off, because normally we do this on a Sunday. Today is a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
But things happened, circumstances.
Father's Day happened.
Father's Day, yeah. That's right, Father's Day was on Sunday. It's been a long few days. I forgot Father's Day was on Sunday. That's right. Yeah. I got a dad jokes shirt and I got a book of dad jokes because
Really?
my daughter is not tortured enough that she purchased these
For
me.
you.
Yeah.
She was not prompted.
Yeah.
Wow, that's bad. That's bad. I don't know. Bad move, kid. Bad move.
Yeah.
Just saying. Well, what do you got? What's new?
Are we jumping right into it?
Well,
That's
I got nothing else really that's going on.
But you're boring on a Tuesday.
I'm kind of boring in general, right? I'm on summer break.
Now,
But my son's
he's
not off until end of the week. My wife was on a leave and now she's back to work, and so you can probably hear her clicking away.
He's not off and he's still in school?
Huh?
It's the end of June.
Oh yeah, I know. This is where it gets funny, right? So
Okay.
Friday is the 23rd. That's also his birthday. He was born on a Wednesday. That was my last day of school. And so normally, like band director thing, you got to go to graduation. Band's got to play at graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And Emily went into labor and like, okay, I'm not coming to graduation. I'm busy. And somebody else has to deal with the band. Bye. I didn't even check in, man. I was very busy. So for him, like the end of school is his birthday, and that's how it's been.
But why so late?
California. That's how it was. We just moved.
So what is he in grade school still or middle school?
Middle school, 6th
In
through
middle
8th.
school. Okay.
And they just moved, at least, but he's in a different school district than the one I teach in. So my school district we just moved our end of school until the right before Memorial Day, May, kind of in general. And but then that makes school starts in August, which is weird because school used to start for us after Labor Day. So like it was sometimes second week in September, and that means that band camp has to start 2 weeks before school starts, and I refuse to do that in July. We will not start school in July. I refuse. There are standards. So we're starting on August 1st, which is a Tuesday. And that's what we're going to do. California.
Like schools have been out here for a month now.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. The end of May.
Yeah. That's what most places around here are kind of doing that. But it's been a gradual transition. It's only been in about the last 5 years that we're catching up to the rest of the country.
Gradual.
Well, I mean, everybody's different. So it has to, for us, it has to do with the way that the state testing works out and the AP testing for high school. So AP testing happens in May. There's a window, and it's a national window. Everybody else is smart and they're done after that, because what else are you going to teach? And so,
because we all know that the education is about passing the tests and not really education itself.
You realize you're talking to a guy that doesn't have a test. Just saying. So
well, you're the exception.
In so many ways.
Although you told me that you put your kids through a test. It's an impossible test.
I test. Yes, I absolutely
never pass.
No. No, I think out of 30 points, 35 points, I think the highest score has and every year that I've given it has been 19.
Oh,
19,
impressive.
19 out of 35.
A prodigy.
Yes, it was a senior. It's like some of
Just
the answers
smart,
don't.
or he's been around you long enough.
Been around long enough. Been around long enough.
Too funny.
Well, wait till you see the test.
No, I've heard about it. Yeah, I've heard some of the questions.
They're very, very, very important things.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on. What's new? I'll go because I have a lot.
You got more than me.
I have a lot. So I was on a buying streak. I bought 4 watches.
Mm-hmm.
I showed you one last time, which was that. I hate that watch so much. That stupid Caravel. I wore it to work today. I woke up, wound the watch, wore it to work, at work, doing stuff. Oh, what time is it? Oh, it's 8 o'clock. Oh, okay. Wow, seems so much later. I checked my phone. It was 9:30.
Yep. Isn't that nice?
Oh, I hate that watch so much. But I like it at the same time. It's just, yeah, I overpaid for that thing. Way too much.
Right,
So,
what do we got?
Remember Gad Hiker was having a fire sale? I bought some stuff from him.
Oh, they all come in?
Everything's here.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's here. The first thing I bought from him was, and I'm slightly disappointed, not really disappointed. I still like the watch. So I bought this vintage Rado Companion.
Right.
Here's the thing with Rado. It's a very mysterious brand as far as the models they offer, all the variations they offer. Like, okay, so let's compare this to what Bulova does. Bulova will have the modern day oceanographer, the G, the reissue. You'll have the Coke version, the classic. You'll have the orange dial version. You'll have the blue dial version. You'll have what else is there? There's the green, the smaller case sizes, the black, all that, right? Different variants. You can have a Rado model, take, like the Diastar or these Companions or the Voyagers, and you can Google search it and you will never see the same one twice. That is how many variations they have of all these different models from the 70s. It's ridiculous. It makes it extremely hard to research anything, hard to date anything, but there are a few things to look out for. I researched this last night. As it seems, what I have is a Franken-Rado.
Okay.
Made up of Rado parts, but they all are not correct to one another. The movement is a movement that would have been used up to very early 1970. From 70 on, they used strictly ETA movements, where this is an AS 2066 based movement. So this was pre 1970 or early 1970 in pre. The case is beautiful. I mean, the edges are sharp, the brushing is spot on, the polishing is perfect. Gorgeous looking case, but this looks like a Rado Voyager case from what I could tell. It has a companion dial, but this is a date only dial, not a day date like most of them usually are. So not 100% sure, but it's still cool. It's all Rado parts.
So there is a potential. There's a possibility that is legit, but it's seeming to be less and less the deeper you dive.
Like I say, it's legit in that the parts seem to be all Rado parts. It's like taking the story that you told. You had the Oceanographer V, but you put it in the G case and you had a different bezel on it and the crown was off. And I think that's kind of what this is, but it's done so well that it looks beautiful.
We're going to put a pin in that and we're coming back to talk about that. Okay.
I knew you would like that one.
Perfect. Well to be on theme.
Next thing I bought from him was, and I have been after one of these for so long. This is a Caravel Trawler G. Very weird name for a very UFO looking watch.
Very weird watch. It's a weird watch. Like it's got that maroon dial. It's got white printed dial. Really long kind of indices all over it, and then you've got the handset is kind of thin. It's loomed too, right?
It's painted. It's not actual loom.
Oh, okay.
And these weren't. There's no loom on this watch whatsoever, and that's exactly how they came. Never had any loom, but the quote unquote loom is painted red to match the dial.
Of course, it is.
Yeah, white hands, black bases, white seconds hand. This one is on the original bracelet,
which I hate.
It's a great bracelet though. But the weird part about this is it's a brushed bracelet. The case is fully polished, but it's a chrome plated case. It's not a stainless case. So a stainless brushed bracelet and a fully polished chrome plated case. The color differences between the two metals is
stark,
phenomenal. Yeah.
So if you polish the bracelet, would it match? Because the coloration is slightly different, but it's not like you could brush chrome.
No.
The only thing I've ever seen that would look like brushed chrome would be like nickel, and that's just darker. That's sort of that
might.
gray black.
I mean, it probably would match more than what it does now, because you're getting that mirror reflection, so it's going to reflect the light around it, which is what the case is doing. So, but it's so funky. It's cool. The epitome of 70s.
You are at pinnacle 70s design, that's for darn sure.
Yeah. The signed crown. And this is because it's a chrome plated case. Finding one of these that's not all pitted or destroyed with scratches, because you can't polish these things up.
It flakes really bad.
Yeah. So to find one like this, I mean, it's not a perfect 10, but I would say it's a definite 9. There are a few small, if you look at it, little hairline things here and there. But this is a watch, because it's chrome plated and it's so perfect, that I really have issue with wearing, because I want to keep it as nice as possible. I love this thing.
Supposed to wear your tools, man.
Tools. Well, it's not a tool. This is not a tool watch.
Okay.
It's a conversation piece.
Okay, what's next?
Speaking of conversation pieces, this was the piece this was the piece you didn't want to have a conversation about.
I remember this one. Yes.
This is another one that I have had my eye on for a long time, and I wanted to pull the trigger last year, and I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because they came out with an updated version, new colorways, sapphire crystal. Now these had Hesselite crystals before. Okay. I didn't realize that. I thought they would have been mineral crystals, but they were Hesselite, which I think would annoyed me because it would have gotten scratched up, because the dome on this is phenomenal. I think the dome on this watch rivals your mill ships.
Ooh, that's a bold statement.
It is. You have to look at it in person. It's not as pronounced. It's a lot more subtle of a dome, but it's tall.
Does it flatten out at all?
No, it is completely curved, which makes photographing this thing near impossible.
Oh my God.
So I am talking the Zurich NASA TRAPPIST-1 Sapphire Jupiter. That is the official name of this.
Okay, so if you haven't seen one of these, talk me through it, because it's not exactly a mystery dial, but it's close, right?
No, not at all. It does have hands. It's a 3-hand watch. So the story behind it is TRAPPIST-1 is a star system 39 light years away from our solar system. It has 7 orbiting planets within the star system. So the way this watch is laid out is you have 2 planets for the hands. The hour, which is in the middle. I'm trying to do this backwards. In the middle section, this is your hours, and then your outer section is, it's hard to tell on here, there's your minutes.
Right, those orange dots.
So those are orange dots.
But it's actually on a hand. It's not a mystery.
It's on a hand. It's on a hand. It's not a disc.
Okay.
Then you have a constellation seconds hand that rotates, and
And
every
but the
60,
constellation is like that. I mean, it's
yeah. But what's neat is every minute that this rotates, so when it hits the 12 o'clock, it completes the TRAPPIST-1 star map. Because what you can't tell by simply just looking at it, like you can't tell from this camera view that I'm showing you here, because on the dial itself is a star pattern in black loom, which is crazy. Now, the neat part is, so this is the case for it right here. It comes in this white NASA case. You open it up, it's got the watch displayed in there. They have a thank you note in there. There's the warranty card. When you lift up the warranty card, it comes with, and I don't have it, it's in the other room, a little, like a black light flashlight to charge up the loom with. Because this thing, while it looks fantastic in person in the daylight, this watch comes alive in the dark when you light it up. You get, and we'll put up a picture here, because if you haven't seen it, I posted it on the Instagram. There's reels of it, and that this is phenomenal in the dark. The way this watch glows, the photos don't do it justice. You have to see it in person, because as you're rotating it, you're getting the reflections off the crystal. It has this inner cage, which is reminiscent of, and I'm drawing a complete blank of the name of the module on the
cupola on the International Space
the cupola,
Station.
yes, the cupola observatory module on the International Space Station. So this is reminiscent of what that looks like. So it gives you the impression of you're looking out into the galaxy. But the way that all the loom reflects off of all this at night is just fantastic. I love it. The finishing on this is spot on. Everything about this watch is exactly what you would want it to be for an art piece, a conversation watch. I'll grant you, not the easiest watch to tell time on, but this is one of those watches that's not necessarily about telling the time. It's about telling the story.
Good for you, man. Good for you. I'm glad you enjoyed
the extent
that.
of the conversation that we had when I bought this watch.
It's not for me, that's for sure. So glad you like it. So you pre-ordered that, right?
So I pre-ordered it. I got a pre-order price, which I think what you get, the watch, even what it's priced at normally, which I think is $335 retail, from their website. And their website really, I think, is the only place you can order them. I don't think Xeric sells through any distributors.
I would be surprised. I don't think I've ever seen it anywhere.
I don't think so. Even that is a good price. I think this is probably a $500 watch, if I'm being honest with you. It has the Seiko, the VH31, which is the same mecha quartz movement that's in the Dan Henry skin diver that I have. So it's a quartz, but you still get that sweeping second hand, which is really cool, because you can buy a mechanical version of these, which is nice because you get that constantly rotating constellations hand.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, quartz is cheaper. I'm like, I'll just deal with the tick. But when I was looking at it, it has that movement. I'm like, oh, perfect. So I'm even more happy with it, because you get the quartz. You don't have to set it all the time. You don't have to put it in a watch winder. It's always ready to go. And you still get that sweeping motion of that.
And it's a limited edition also? Out of how many pieces?
Limited edition, yeah. 1,969, 1969 for the Apollo 11. The case back, we'll throw a picture up of the case back too. It's just got this cool little eagle medallion landing on the moon that talks about the Apollo 11. This is an extremely low. This is a lower number than what my parking meter is.
That's right.
By half.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised.
You're well below 50 there. Good for you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Good for you.
So I'm really happy. The weird thing is the strap that this comes with is a new silicone strap, very comfortable,
space age material,
very thick, very aggressive strap for this watch. So I instantly tried it out on a few different things. I have it on that blue suede,
the one you bought for the parking meter, right?
The one that I bought for the parking meter. It's got the orange stitching on it, and I love the way it looks on here. I know you're not crazy about it, but I think it looks
You know, this is where when I look at my collecting journey that I can be okay with that. It's because it's not my watch. It's
Mhm.
not my thing. And I'm fine with it not being my thing. But it works for you. Sweet. You want to swap that in for a date just whatever. None of that, it's like I can appreciate the fact that you appreciate that and that it ticks off all of these boxes for you and be like, that's great. You go right ahead.
You
It's
just
like
so
it's like it's your dog. You love your dog, and it's good that you do.
I will go on a limb and I will say this. You know that I love the Jacob Astronomias,
Yes.
those big fishbowl
Yes.
cases that
Yes.
have, and they do them in different variants. They have the
Yes.
Godfather one and the Constellation ones and all kinds of stuff. This watch, I feel, fills that void for me because it's a larger sized watch. Don't ask me what the diameter is because off the top of my head, I don't remember. 43, 44, this one might be. It has that huge domed crystal, like what the Astronomias have. When you're looking at it, you're seeing not the time, but you're seeing the art that it's supposed to be, which is what the Astronomias do for me. So I think this fills that void of not being able to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on that. I can have this for a fraction of the cost and be just as happy with it.
Your mental gymnastics for that was fantastic. Boy, that was stunning. I'm thrilled for you and your space age astronomica ISS strap monster. I'm going to need more to drink. If we're going to keep this up, I'm going to have to. Good Lord. We haven't even got to a drink check yet. I'm going to have to refill.
No,
Holy
not
crap.
yet. I'm out of watches. So
my turn?
bring us back on track, I guess, Joe.
That.
Yeah.
This is freaking weird, man. It is a Caravel dive watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's in kind of a tonneau shape case, hidden lugs that are 20 mil. It's got an airplane seconds hand. It's got a 666 dive rating with an airplane seconds hand. It's a day date. It's got a funky dial and it has a faded red bezel. It doesn't have a name. Nobody knows very much about them. You see them; they crop up from time to time. They're not that common. And then to make matters better, or perhaps worse, I have put it onto a pink mesh strap, which doesn't really show up in the photographs all that well, but it is pink.
That's pink?
It's pink.
Oh, I can't tell one bit.
I know. It's pink. I'll put it against my shirt. Or maybe it's my, see, pink. And I am thrilled to death. I love this sucker. I think it is great.
Those are cool. And those are always so expensive when they come up.
Yeah. And this one I got for a song.
I'm talking like, what's the average price? $550, $600 for one of those when they pop up?
Yeah. And they're normally like far away too. I've seen a bunch that have come out of Southeast Asia and Indonesia, Australia too. And this one I believe I got from the Philippines. So it shipped amazingly fast too. Like I think it came in less than a week. Yeah.
Huh.
So
wow.
So that's what I got. That's it.
How did it come? Not through the mail.
Yeah. Mail. DHL.
From the Philippines.
DHL. Yeah.
Oh, DHL. Oh, like the weird DHL where they send it to the post office thing. Okay.
Kinda. Or this like DHL is hit and miss for our neighborhood. DHL for me is like USPS for you. And there's been things that we've ordered that they said it's delivered, and we have to go walk around the neighborhood and like climb up on people's porches to try to find it. And like my wife ordered something that came in a big tube, like a roll of shelf paper or something like that got delivered 3 doors down, up on the second floor. And so like we had to go walk around and try to find it. And so no, here you are. walking around with your phone because they sent you a picture and it's like, okay, but that's not my
This
porch,
doesn't match yet.
right?
Nope,
So
not that
you're
book
looking
of
around,
maps.
it's like maybe it's that. Oh. And then you walk up and you pick up this package off of somebody else's porch,
And are
look
you
at it,
running, looking over your shoulder like you're one of those porch
right? It's
pirates?
like so anybody who sees you like you're Steve, it's like no, that's my name, and you have to bring your ID with you and all that sort of stuff. It's like this is obviously not my house. Anyway, DHL is hit and miss, but it came in one piece. The watch works great. The crown is wrong, but I have a crown. I've sourced a crown because I went up to talk to Oliver about it.
What's wrong with the crown?
It's wrong. It's the wrong
It's
crown.
just not a Caravel crown.
It's not a Caravel crown. It's not signed, and it's also small.
Oh, okay.
So it's definitely an aftermarket crown. So I've got the correct crown. I don't know that the stem is right, but the crown is.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
we just thread it back on, and all will be well. So
yeah, that's cool. You've been after one of those for a while.
I have been. It's nice. It's nice. Like there's been this sort of weird influx of the Otter 666s that have come up recently, and I've managed to get a couple that are on their way,
and possibly a Ronald McDonald watch.
Probably not. If it were Wendy's, definitely. If it were Sambo's, absolutely.
I don't know what that is.
No, you don't, and it's awful. It was a restaurant change. It was called Sambo's. Oh, dude, it was ugly. It was absolutely ugly. I mean, the Bob's Big Boy ones I'm okay with, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways,
so what were you drinking there?
So glad you asked. I have pre-mixed.
Are you still on that?
Still on what?
Are those the Negronis?
Yes.
Well, that bottle is how old? It's a couple days old now.
Well, yes, I've been drinking other things.
Okay.
You let it meld together, right? The longer you let it sit, the better it gets.
I don't know. You know my feelings on a Negroni. I'm so disappointed in those.
Well, that's because
I wanted to like it so much. I wanted to like them.
You're not bitter enough in the soul, sir. For me, this is just about right, and this is actually not a Negroni. This is a Boulevardier, because you swap out the gin for bourbon, and all will be well. So I got that, and then I've got the Lunar Pilot, because it is a Tuesday.
Not so speedy Tuesday.
Right, and it's a Lunar Pilot, and I've got it on a two-part nylon strap, because that NASA style strap that I ordered was just awful. It was so bad, and I got to try to send it back, but amazingly, I'm probably not going to be able to, and I might be stuck with it. It's awful.
I think that strap was legitimately meant for a spacesuit, because the picture you sent me, the tail on that thing was just fantastic.
Oh man, I gotta see if I can find that picture. We'll see if we can post it up. It's awful. It was so bad. And like normally it's a two-part strap, and you can adjust it a little bit. This is a single pass, and it hung over the. It was bad. It was bad.
Would not tuck under your cuff at all.
Oh God, no, nowhere close. Nowhere close. So you, sir,
I meant to send you the two-piece NATO strap that came on my LE, the 45 millimeter LE. I cannot find it for the life of me. There is a pouch floating around somewhere that got lost in a box from the move that has that strap and the strap, the brown leather strap from the parking meter are both in that pouch. No clue where they're at.
You put it someplace clever, I'm sure.
Yeah. So when I find it, I'll send it to you, because it's real nice. There's signed buckles and keepers and everything. It's a real nice strap. It's just, it's not my style. I don't like those two-piece NATOs, but you do. So
I do. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Like this works really well. It's kind of close to the look that I want. I'm okay with it. I got to mess around with that though. We'll see.
So I'm wearing a 1972 Jetstar D. This is the red and white handset and the protruding crown. Now this was
okay. Talk me through this, because you posted that picture a little bit ago, and you had both. Is it a difference in year?
So the D was made in two production years, 1972 and 1973. The 1972 is this one that has the red and white hour and minute hands, the red seconds hand. This has a protruding crown, whereas the 73 has the hidden crown. The 73 has the blue handset. Same case shape, same bezel. However, the difference in the cases is around the crown, where the 1973 version is milled out a little bit more for the hidden crown itself.
So the
So
crown
you
is
can't
the
swap
crown
the
is
crowns.
essentially so the crown is essentially the same
No,
on both versions. No,
two
it's
different
not the
crowns.
same. Two different crowns.
They're
So
signed differently. So
the depth of the crown. Okay.
this is signed Bulova, whereas the hidden crown one has just the B on it.
No kidding. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But they're slightly different sizes. This one is maybe a little bit larger diameter than what the hidden crown is. And then, like I say, the cases are milled out differently.
Right.
So you can't take this crown and swap it into the other case. It simply will not work at all.
Huh.
So the same,
Hashtag Bulova.
yeah, same overall case design except for around the crown area. Same bracelets. But so this was a project one that I had bought. I wanted the handset because I wanted to put these hands on my NOS version, because remember we had a conversation way back and I said, these aren't ever going to get sold. I'm not going to keep them. So I don't care about mismatching, the parts in that. But I talked with our mutual friend who was very much an originality guy.
Yes.
And those conversations got the best of me. So here's the thing is this bracelet only came with one end link. You can't find end links like this. It's not a typical curved end link. It's not a typical straight end link. It's a very specific end link. And I had to fabricate one because you cannot find them. So I took an Invicta Pro Diver 20 millimeter curved end link. This is a 19 millimeter lug. I had to shave it down in all the ways to make it fit. And I posted a picture of it. And I posted a story and I said, can you tell which one it is? Some people guessed it, but they said, well, that was just a random guess.
It's a guess. Yeah, it's a 50-50.
But nobody could really tell which was which. So and when I said, yes, you were correct, or no, you're not, but here's the telltale sign, they're like, I can see it now.
Yeah. You got to know what you're looking for. It's not
like
it doesn't conform exactly to the case. I get it. And I think that for what it was and how you did it, I think you did a fantastic job, because nobody's going to notice.
Done. And if you don't know, like you said, if you don't know what you're looking at, you're never going to notice the difference. And it allows me to wear it on the original bracelet. So I put the whole thing together. This movement has been serviced. I put the original hands back in the watch like it was supposed to be. I put my NOS hands back on the NOS watch. But now I have the two variants. I can't sell it. And furthermore, when I cleaned this case up, I did it to a point where it is not where I would normally restore a case to, only so that I would not feel bad wearing this one. So I will definitely wear this one, whereas I most certainly don't wear the NOS one.
See, now your 10-piece Jetstar collection is going to blossom.
Well, my 10-piece Jetstar collection is currently up to 15 pieces.
Exactly. Yeah. I can foresee that moving up to 20, maybe 25. So
we'll see.
Watch yourself.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm drinking. And I'm not usually a brown liqueur guy, but today I'm drinking brown liqueur, brownish liqueur. It's more orangey. This is Pignac. This is cognac, vodka, and passion fruit juice, all in one. Pignac.
Came in its own bottle?
Came in a pineapple-shaped bottle.
Well, now.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers to you and your fruity beverage.
My fruity beverage matches your fruity personality.
That's a new one. Normally,
like Liquid Joe.
I've never heard that before either. That's new. This is good. What's really funny is there's probably some former students of mine that are going to watch this and they'll be really confused.
Yeah.
Fruity?
So now that we've spent, how long have we been bantering about watches that nobody cares about?
Why?
That's in our collections and not theirs. I wonder. We do that new watch alert segment. I wonder how many people really enjoy that, or just like fast forward through it.
At least 12.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you guys really hate it, let us know. Then we just won't do it no more.
That's fair.
And then it'll cut down our episodes by at least 20 minutes.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. So you told me put
Yes.
a pin in the Rado, the Franken-Rado.
The Franken-Rado. All right.
Because
So
what are we talking today? This is an interesting topic, almost one that kind of hits near and dear to my heart.
it does, and I thought that it would be so we're talking about, or we're talking around. It's that Speedmaster that's just been exposed as a fraud. It's the what is it? The 2915-1 with
The
that
$3 million
chocolate
Speedmaster.
$3 million Speedmaster chocolate dial. It was purchased through a proxy bidder for the Omega Museum.
Mhm.
Omega then goes around and they start wondering about it. Periscope, at Periscope, Jose Perez did an investigation on that watch in April before the sale and was saying, this watch is not what it's supposed to be. It's not what it should be. Here are the problems. And he came with the receipts like he always does.
Mhm.
The dial is from a different watch. The bezel is from a different watch. The movement is from a different watch. And so this was a watch that was assembled, apparently, as the story keeps coming out, apparently by pieces from the Omega Museum that were harvested by someone there, who then got that to the people that were making it. They fabricated a bridge. They fabricated a serial number to fit onto the watch, and so that all of this would go together. The questions that come up in this part of the story is the fact that the watch was being sold as legitimate when it was an assemblage of pieces. Does that change what the watch actually is? Maybe, maybe not. If that is the case, and it does change everything about the watch, why is that? And also, the other question that starts to show up is, who is responsible for that information? If it's an assembled watch, if it's a watch that is made out of pieces that may or may not be period correct, but they definitely go together, is that important? Does that matter? And so we shall discuss.
Did a dump truck just drive through your house?
I drove past my house. I told you we
Okay.
have a fantastic little.
You couldn't hear a dump truck if it drove through a nitroglycerin plant. Do you get the reference?
No, but I don't
No.
watch. I don't
Christmas
watch cartoons.
Vacation?
Okay.
No? Okay, never mind. Somebody will get it. Somebody's laughing right now. Clearly not.
I'm laughing near you.
Yeah. So
that's the question, right?
it's quite the conspiracy.
It's a big conspiracy, and so apparently, according to various articles, and if you haven't delved into this, Jose Perez has done a fantastic write-up of the watch. You can find that in a variety of different things. It got picked up by a newspaper in Switzerland, who then reached out to Omega. Omega has made a couple of different quotes, but now it has kind of forced the issue. So the watch was at auction from Philips, and that's RL Box and the Philips consortium. The thing that I find really fascinating about the whole story is that people in the Speedmaster fandom space, major collectors of Speedmasters, guys that I know that, the new chiming Speedmaster, he's getting like number 4. Like, yeah. we're talking like not minor collectors. All of them that I've reached out to, they're like, oh yeah, we knew something was wrong. We absolutely knew something was wrong, but there was comments that were going on amongst themselves, but it didn't really get out of these smaller chat rooms, out of these smaller communications. And it raises a variety of questions. and it's kind of these questions that we as parts of the watch fam is like, where, who are we responsible to, who are we beholden to, and what is our role as collectors when it comes to pieces like this, where you see something that shows up on an auction site and you're like, it's wrong, the handset is wrong, the dial is wrong, whatever, but nobody really gets called out. Philips, for their part, said, and they've got it in the small print, it's like buyer beware. You need to do your own diligence, your own research, and they send the watches out on kind of a grand tour to major metropolitan areas on most of the continents. So they go into Asia, they go into the US someplace, they go into Europe in a couple of different spots, so that people can get hands-on with the watch if you're a serious buyer and you're going to be spending $3 million on a Speedmaster. But then you also got the fact that that watch was potentially being bid up by two of the other,
So let me make a point here real quick.
Okay.
There are instances at auctions like this where a watch will sell with such provenance or history or whatever it may be that sets the price that it does. And that watch will set a precedent for future sales of watches that will come close to it. Because that, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the biggest points of that was that chocolate dial.
Right.
Okay. So if this was legitimately a $3 million Speedmaster, which is unheard of in the world of Speedmasters.
Yeah.
Now, when the next chocolate dial Speedmaster comes up, is that another $3 million watch?
Well, this is where
the thing is I feel like this whole situation has been tainted because it's not legitimately a $3 million watch, because
it's not legitimately a chocolate dial either.
Well, no, but the way that it was bid up, the person that bought it and then who it went to and all the conspiracy behind it totally destroys the credibility of this watch and the price of the sale.
Correct.
So
all of it becomes suspect, and it becomes much more sketchy, because when you start taking a look at the watch itself, the dial is completely even. It's completely even, and there have been no tropical dialed Speedmasters that were even. They all had blotches, they all had spots. They were not a uniform color, which to the Speedmaster community said it's been baked. Then there was the fact that dial in particular had already been seen on another watch, and so the lume plots had been changed, and there's a variety of things that had gone through with that watch.
Yeah.
But this is okay. So this kind of gets us back into our question. And the way that we've been discussing it has been sort of this idea of the barn find or the resto mod, because there's that parallel between the automotive world and the vintage watch world. This watch was being sold as a barn find.
Mm-hmm.
It was not. It was a resto mod. Does that change, damage, alter the value of the watch? And that's part of the discussion that we want to have a little bit today.
I think less resto mod. I think resto mod would indicate that things are heading in an up and up direction. This was a Franken watch, which was assembled from various parts.
Correct parts, though, right? Just like your Rado.
Yeah.
And this is like the thing that seems to be odd. There's a bridge that has been manufactured.
Yeah.
But everything else about the watch is legitimate Omega parts. They just weren't born together. It's like, okay, cool. And I get that, and that's okay. That's okay with me, because when you start dealing with the watches that Mike and I deal with, I will swap out a movement. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to get one that's the same year, but it's definitely the same movement. I will put in parts and repair and restore a movement. Is that the right watch? Is that legitimate? Now, if I sell the watch, do I need to then disclose the fact that, okay, this non-serialized A-Shield 1801 movement, I have now replaced the rotor on that with another front, or I replaced a bridge, I replaced a mainspring, I replaced a plate, whatever it may be. So now that this watch that didn't work now does work. I have a new old stock dial for the same watch. It's made within the right year range to go into that watch. Is that legitimate? Would you rather have the new old stock dial versus the shot, patinaed, water damaged dial? Right? These are the questions.
And here's the thing, though, and I'm skipping a few points on your outline here. It very much depends on the price point. The price point in which we operate, I think you can get away with that kind of stuff, and nobody's really going to say anything about it. But when you're about to spend millions of dollars on a watch, that's when you need to be very diligent on your research, making sure all the numbers match, making sure.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but this is another aspect of that part of the discussion specifically. When you're getting into these multiple $1,000,000 watches, right? And we're talking, vintage watches, these unicorns, all these other, and the Rolex unicorn is a whole different discussion, which follows along these same lines, and you should check out those articles as well. When you start to have these discussions about that specifically, who is buying that watch and why are they buying that watch? Because that's not you and me. Well, that's also not a majority of the collectors, because the collectors would have taken one look at that watch and be like, oh, no way. It's not what it's supposed to be.
Well,
they all knew.
So here's the other side of the same coin. This watch was marketed as a barn find watch, a survivor watch, a 100% legit watch. If this watch was sold as an Omega Franken, would people have been more susceptible to bid appropriately based upon what it was and have been okay with bidding on it as such?
It wouldn't reach that price at all.
Or would it wouldn't have reached that price, but would the watch be as chastised as it is now?
No, absolutely not. Like if you were to come out and say this is a watch that's been put together as assemblage of parts, sure. But what you would have run into at that point is like, okay, well, where did the dial come from originally? Why don't we do that watch instead? Because as it is, what this was sold as is like one of the first examples of the Speedmaster first watch on the moon, because that's where it falls into the range, and so that's what makes it that desirable amalgam of parts. It's got the broad arrows, it's got the specific bezel, it's got the all these, and the disadvantage that you and I have is that we are not deep into the Speedmaster world. I mean, we both have Bulova Lunar Pilots as our space watch, for crying out loud. So, we're definitely at a lower echelon when it comes to this discussion. But as someone who has had watches restored and has had watches restored to, NOS condition with NOS parts, and I've had cases refinished. You have done some of that case refinishing. You have restored watches back to NOS quality. Do you then sell that watch as original?
Well, and herein lies the problem. I think you need to let that be up to the buyer by way of disclosure. You have to. So, and on the Scottish Watches podcast, which is what I listened to with the Periscope interview, towards the end of that, they were talking about kind of along the lines of this topic and refinishings and things like that. And one thing that he said was, the people who restore cases do such a good job at detail, bringing back edges, bringing back the finishes, bringing back the polishings and the brushings and the way that things are supposed to be as if they left from the factory or better, that the people who do this should take pride in their work and should be okay enough to say, this is what I've done. This is what I've created.
This was me.
And I am selling it as such. You are not only buying the watch, but you're buying my work. But the problem
it is art.
It is an art form. The problem is you get the people who will do that, but play dumb and pass it off as, well, that this is just an NOS watch that I had. I don't know any information about it. Buy it as NOS. Full well knowing that it wasn't, and that it was assembled out of pieces and parts or whatever, and that's how it's being moved on. And that's what this watch was. So as long as full disclosure is involved, the responsibility falls on the buyer at that point to determine
Okay.
whether you're willing to spend X amount of dollars on a watch that you know that is not what it
So
should be,
so
quote
let's
unquote.
let's let's delve into that just a little bit, because we're talking about restoring a watch. We're talking about replacing parts. In a lot of the cases, we're talking about some type of replacement of something that came originally on the watch. It could be gaskets, right?
Hmm.
It could be cracked loom. So, you've got a loom filled minutes hand that all of the loom has fallen out because of age or water damage or whatever. And if you want to restore the watch, you need to put loom back into that so that you don't have a skeletonized hand. Okay. There's a difference between that and maybe loom plots that have fallen off the dial, or if there's a crack on the dial, or if there is damage to the dial. And then
And
there's a difference. Like, so if you have a gouged case, what happens if you were to say center the metal back onto it and then polish it down so that you no longer have that gouge, right? And these are parts of the discussion. And it's like, at what point have you crossed a line from restoration versus service, right? Gaskets, I think we can all agree that if you replace the gasket, you got a case back gasket that's turned to goo,
and that's a serviceable part,
right?
for
But
the
it's not
functionality of the watch.
original,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think that there's anyone who, if we're making that vintage car analogy, no one is upset that you've replaced any of the header gaskets or
Mhm.
oil gaskets or anything
Or the
like that.
seals or anything like
Right.
that.
No one's upset with that, because those are parts that will degrade over time. Gaskets in the case back of a watch will degrade over time. Gaskets in the crown of a watch will degrade over time. I don't think anybody's ever argued that, like, I'm sorry, I can't buy that. It's not the original spring bars. Right.
Mhm.
And and if it's the original strap, that's great. But if it's not, people aren't that upset.
To answer your question, I think you have two groups of people. You have the group that is very much originality. It needs to be as original as possible, no matter the patina that's on it, no matter if the loom is cracked or falling out or what have you. That is what is valuable to them. And there is very much a market for that. There are some of these high-end watches where, as long as the patina is correct on it, that will double or triple the value of the watch itself. But then you have the group of people who want to have their watches as pristine as possible. They want to have that brand new dial. They want to have the refinished case. They want the watch to be of that era, but they want it to look brand new, which I think is, let's call it, what would appeal to the reissue crowd. The people that like reissues like the fact that they can buy a watch that was around in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever the era may be, but they have it as perfect as possible. They have it brand new.
Yeah. They have that same
You know
design language, but they have all the modern.
exactly.
Right. I get it. I get
With
it.
all the modern conveniences. So you
But
have two
again,
very
though,
different
however,
groups of people.
a lot of those people will argue with the quartz reissue of the same watch.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was like, okay, cool. I put disc brakes on a 68 Camaro. Like,
Well,
hey, yeah.
so a quartz movement in a mechanical watch, right? A quartz reissue is, and they're doing this now in the car world. They're electrifying vintage cars,
Yes. Right.
and there are people who hate it, and there are people who love it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
And
So,
you're not going to please both groups
oh no, never,
of
never.
people.
But so now here's the question. It's like, okay, at what price point does this happen? Because I think that you and I can both agree that it's not where we are.
Well, what happen?
Does when do you start to care that
It can happen at any price point.
It certainly can. It certainly can. But
There are collectors at our price point who want to have this watch as original as possible. Okay.
yeah,
And
but here's the thing. Like,
and there
okay,
are people who don't care because they want it to look as nice as possible.
here's the thing. Here's the thing, and this is what gets me. Okay, this watch, if it stays as original as possible, is going to look like shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to look good. It's not going to be a good. It's not going to work well. There's going to be no appeal to it. And the difference between this and a vintage Rolex is, let's be honest, in some cases it's simply the spelling. because the movements that are in some of these older watches from the 60s, it's the same movement. The cases are made by the same people. The dials are made by the same people. The only difference is the spelling that's on the dial. That's it. That's the only real difference. Okay, but one of them is more valuable than other because, Scrabble. Fine. And, you throw an X into the word and you get that triple letter score and blah, 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 blah. This, however, it starts to get into a level of disingenuity to me, that you've got people there's like, okay, this has become more valuable. I think this is more valuable because of a variety of different reasons, and everyone agrees. There are a group of high-end collectors and high-end sellers, some of the auction houses, that are saying, oh, no, you need to be all original. Everything needs to be original. Meanwhile, those are the same people that are recreating this originality from new old stock parts, from incorrect parts, and they're fabricating these legends so that they can then sell something that is not legit as legit because they've told you to buy it. And this is part of the issues. Like when you start getting into watches as investment, we've lost a moment. And it's one of the things that started to happen. It happened in the vintage violin world a few years ago, 25 years ago, where Stradivari and Guarneri and Amati violins suddenly became more valuable as investments, which means a couple of things. First problem with these instruments is that they lose their value if they aren't played. There's a whole deal with the instruments that you need to have the vibrations going on because it changes the pores in the wood, it changes the sound of the instrument, and it makes the instrument sound like it should. The reason that these instruments are good is because they were a great example of the instrument at the time, and it sounded better than anything else, and it has been played continually for 300 years. Okay, cool, great, got that. But when the instrument becomes more valuable that it can't be played, and you're just going to put it into a humidor, essentially, now the instrument's lost value. But you got to play it, but the players can no longer afford. So what starts to happen, and it's a fascinating discussion, an investor group on occasion will buy an instrument as an investment, and then they will loan it to a performer who gets to play it in concert as long as...
Imagine the nerves of having to play that instrument?
Oh God, yeah, right. You're talking about a $5 million violin that you are using, and we're not even talking like you're wearing the watch because you're going out to a fancy dinner. We're talking you're using the thing as it's supposed to be used. That you're going to be putting it down. It's going to be exposed to temperature fluctuations. It's going to be you're going to travel with it. You're going to do all these different things, and it's not yours. You are now responsible to a consortium of other people to try to get, and when you start getting into watches as that, who is it? It's the Shark Tank guy, Kevin, who's brought up the fact that AP, some Rolex, Patek Philippe, Vacheron Constantin, these watches hold their value better than gold. You can't get them. They're unobtainable. And that as soon as you do obtain it, the value has shot up 25%. As soon as you sign the paperwork on the watch, as soon as it's yours, it is now more valuable. And sometimes you can flip it for twice as much, right? When you start getting into that space, then the watch is no longer that valuable. And so the Speedmaster that we're talking about, it didn't go to a Speedmaster collector. Eventually, it turns out it goes to the Omega Museum because the guy that sold the parts is the one who said, oh, no, we need to buy it. But then it shows up with another problem. And this is something that's really hard to wrap my brain around. Omega will sell you an extract from the archives. They will tell you what the watch is, when it was produced, and where it was initially sold to, amongst other information. They're no longer doing that. They aren't doing that anymore as a service that they're providing to collectors. But if Omega was willing to spend $3 million for their own watch, and they know that they've got this service that they have stopped providing, but they could provide again to themselves, Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do that kind of due diligence? What and it's where all of this just gets phenomenally ridiculous.
Well,
And
yeah.
I think that when you get up to sort of this rare air of the collecting world, it's like people lose their minds. Common sense kind of goes out the window because nobody in the Speedmaster world would have looked at that watch and be like, "Oh, legit, absolutely right. I want that, and I'm willing to spend that much money for it." Nobody did. It wasn't us. It wasn't the watch fam.
Yeah, there a lot of weird mystery that surrounds this watch. I mean, people are calling it money laundering. People are calling it scams. People are there's a lot of terms that surround this watch, and it will forever be a mystery. I think I don't know that we'll ever really get the full story on it.
Maybe, maybe not. It depends on if Omega decides to press charges, which it's hard to say if they're going to.
Against two themselves, because the other version of the story is it was three employees that were in on this whole thing.
Former employees.
Yeah, former employees. Yeah.
Right, and the part that makes it really funny is like nobody's wanting to name names except that when you do the research, you know who they're talking about. So it's a really interesting question. Okay, but then that takes us into kind of our next part of the discussion, which is, and I know that this has happened to you. It's happened to me on a couple of occasions where people have reached out to me as a Bulova dive watch, Bulova 666 expert. Which I take
asking us,
right.
What do you think of this? Is it legit? Worth it? Do you think it's
And they're looking for sort of a valuation or a legitimacy of the watch, and it's part of. I don't think that it's necessarily something that's at the lower echelon of collecting. I think that this happens across the whole spectrum of collecting until you get into the investment side of things, because when you get into the investment side of things, they're not necessarily collectors, right? They're not going to wear the watch.
All these terms are very relative.
Okay.
What is investment? Investment at the root of it is buying low, selling high, right?
Yes.
Okay. That can happen at any price point. Just because we can't afford to spend $3 million on a watch, right? We have bought watches at a very low price that we know will go up in value or we know will be worth more money someday. Whether or not we decide to sell those watches or keep them or what have you, that's a different story. But there are some people who will buy watches, they'll find a great deal on it. When you're buying at the price point that we do, we call it a good deal, not a good investment. But it's the terms are kind of interchangeable because a good deal means you're buying low and you're able to sell it at a better price.
I think that has everything to do with intent. Investment versus a good deal. Good deal watch, and I know that the watch will go up in value, or I know what the current market is and somebody doesn't know what they have and I buy it at a decent price. Different than I am buying this watch at this specific price with the intent that it will become more valuable.
Well, I'll give you that, but on a basic level, it's pretty much one and the same.
I see. I don't think it's one and the same because I'm not looking to flip. I'm not looking at the watch for what it will get me later on down the line.
See, no, that brings on the whole conversation of flipping. Is an investment a flip? Yeah.
It certainly is, but it's a question of how long are you going to hang on to it? Is it that I bought the watch at this price point with the intent to enjoy it, and now it has become more valuable as a commodity, and the value of the watch is now worth more than my enjoyment of it. Let me make my house payment. Right? That's a possibility as well. But when we start dealing with this kind of intent, what is the role of the watch fan? And so part of the thing that shows up in these auctions is buyer beware. You need to do your own due diligence. You need to do your own research. We're allowing you to handle the watch. You need to know what you're looking for. When you get into esoteric Speedmaster references, where the da 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 as the number and you need to know what the difference is between a 1 and a 2 in that. It's like, okay, you've delved down a pretty deep rabbit hole. We're talking about Urado, for instance. Is it legit? Who knows? We're talking about, this Caravel. No one knows what this is. There's not even a model number. I've got nothing on the case back. Like, no clue. No one knows.
So let's look at it this way. The experienced collector, I feel, has somewhat of a responsibility to the less experienced collectors. Okay. In that we need to be there to help identify these problems. Like you said, people come to us because we're very knowledgeable in you and your 666s and your dive watches, me and a lot of the more broader 70s scale.
Definitely the Jet Stars.
Definitely the Jet Stars in particular. And they'll say, what do you think of this? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's worth this price? What should I offer? Are these the correct parts?
Right.
So on and so forth. I think as the experienced collector, we have somewhat of a responsibility to be like, here's what to look out for. Here's what it is. This is blah, 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 blah. This is what it's worth, or it's not worth anything at all. And I also think it goes beyond that a little bit. And I've done it, and I know you've probably done it. I know other collectors that we're friends with have done it. When we're on eBay, we're seeing listings for some of these watches that you look at it and it's like, oh, come on. You can't be serious. Like, this is so horrible at what you're advertising it at. It's not even worth the $500 that you're asking for.
Well, it's better than that. It's better than that,
But-
because there's also a collection.
point-
But there's a collection of those where it's like, oh, check this out. Look at this. Can you believe it? Where we're sharing this amongst other collectors that we know. There's stuff that I've sent you and I'm like, look at this. Oh my God.
Yeah. But at which point we've all reached out to the seller and been like, listen, this is not what you should be doing. I know that you know that this is not correct. You need to change this. And
Or-
in some cases they've pulled the listings, or they've changed the descriptions, or they've changed the titles, or changed the price, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have that responsibility to the people who may not know, who think that they're going to be buying something that really they're not getting.
Yeah.
I hate to say watchdog it, because nobody wants to be looked over, right? You should be able
Well,
to do
but
whatever
there's-
it is
I mean,
that you want
there's-
to do,
there's this-
but you
there's
need
this
to hold
level
people
of-
accountable.
There's a level of legitimacy that goes with that. It's like, okay, I'm putting this out into the public space. And it's kind of up there with the freedom of speech issue. Like, sure, you can say whatever you want. You have that right. But I also have the right to call you on it. And I have the right to now say that's incorrect, and let me tell you why. It's just gonna be a question of like, what kind of receipts do you have to bring that sort of thing up? And that's part of the question and part of the thing. And I think, though, and I think I can speak for you on this, and the fact that we do this and that we are diligent in doing this. Like, somebody sends me a query on Instagram, and usually it's people I don't know. They reach out to me because my profile is public, and so you want to ask a question, great, ask me a question. They'll send me something like, hey, yeah, I don't know you, you don't know me, but is this legit? And my response is always to be as absolutely honest as I can. It's like, I'll take a look at it, I will assess it with the best of my knowledge, and I will respond with what I think. And I will also caveat that. It's like, I think it's this, I'm not sure, let me check. And I'll check with other people, I'll check my resources and say, okay, yes, it is this, it should be this, whatever the specifications may be. But the reason that I do that is because I've gotten burned. And I've bought something that I thought was one thing and it shows up and it's something else. I'm like,
Oh, we've all done that. Yeah.
right. Well, but I think that like part of our responsibility is being a good Samaritan in the watch fam, for lack of a better term, And it's this thing says like, okay, this happened to me, let me not have this happen to you, if I can use my powers for good, because with great power comes great responsibility.
All right, Joe, last call.
Last call. Okay.
I know what you got, but I
I know you
don't know
do.
what you got. So I'm a
I know what
little scared for this one.
You should be. You should be. This
So
is okay.
hit me with
Here's
what you got.
here's the discussion. Um, there has been a rash of, and it's happening at the higher end, right? So it's not where we live, but it's the higher end where ADs have been denying watches to people who have purchased from them because they have flipped the watch.
Mhm.
So Vacheron Constantine, it's happening a lot in Asia, and I've reached out to some collectors in Asia, and they're like, yeah, this is legit. This is what's going on. Vacheron Constantine, somebody bought 2 watches, flipped them, wanted to get a third, and the AD's like, no, you flip our watches. Now, whether or not it was a flip for profit or a flip because it's like, you know what, this watch doesn't work for me, I don't like it, I'm not going to wear it enough, I might as well move it on. Is that discrimination?
No.
Discuss.
You want to make the correlation between the automotive world and the watch world again?
Certainly.
There are manufacturers, when they come out with special edition vehicles, you have to sign an agreement with the manufacturer that you will not sell or flip that vehicle within whatever the predetermined amount of time is. And if you do, you will A, get sued, and B, be restricted from buying from them ever again.
Okay, fair.
So
If that, but
I can understand the ADs stopping from selling people like that.
But if you have not stated that, if that is not a sign on the dotted line part of the deal, is that appropriate?
To an extent, I think I can see how you would get blackballed. And
I see. Okay, I can see how you would get blackballed as well, and I understand.
I think it's reasonable though, because we've had this conversation before about flipping, and is it right? Is it not right? And we all kind of agree that flipping is not looked upon very highly.
Right.
So I really,
But
if this is a way of combating the flipper nature, I am
maybe
okay with it. I am okay with it.
except that, right? And this is part of the discussion that we had that okay, you buy a watch, you're legitimately interested in the watch, and the watch shows up, and suddenly it's not right. The size is wrong. Something else is wrong. You don't like the bezel. You don't like the color. You're not going to wear it as much as you want to, whatever that may be. And okay, 6 months down the road, you're like, you know what? I've got a 4 watch collection. This is too much, and you decided to let it go. Is that flipping? And we all agreed that it was not.
I'd be willing to bet though that in these instances, these people are flaunting. I have 2 of these. 2 of these unobtainium watches. You can buy them from me now. I bet you it's not the case of I bought it and I just don't like it, and so I'm going to sell it so I can buy something that I will enjoy. That I think is a different situation. I feel like these people, without knowing the full story, is probably somebody who really went out of their way to advertise that they had these watches and they were going to flip them, recently purchased, and word travels and word gets out. And if word gets back to the wrong people, you get blackballed.
It's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. To me, it has the smatterings of discrimination. I am discriminating against you because you have done something that I find to be inappropriate according to my morals. However, it may not be inappropriate according to your morals, and so now I'm imposing a moral judgment upon you without knowing that. That's my take. Your take is different. That's my last call.
Okay.
Sir?
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because it tries to not eliminate a problem, but it tries to regulate a problem, maybe is a better word.
Okay.
That is a problem, I mean, it is a thing. And I don't think it's right,
Okay.
because all it hurts is the people who do want to buy the watch to truly enjoy it. Why should you have to pay 50, 60, 70% more than retail for something that you genuinely are going to love when, these people are buying them up and don't care? I get it.
I don't know. I don't know. It's a question though, and I think it's a legitimate one. Anyway, all right,
I don't have anything today.
fair.
Yeah.
How do they get in touch with us?
So this evening on a Tuesday,
On a Tuesday.
We are the Tuesday edition of the Spring Bar Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Spring Bar Podcast. You can email us at springbarpodcast@gmail.com. On a personal level, I am 120 clicks, all spelled out, one long word, 120 clicks. Joe?
I am Watch Taylor Youth, all one word. Sound it out. You can figure it out. And you can also hashtag us with at the Spring Bar Podcast. We'd love to see your watch shots, your drink shots, your are you bored with the new watch alert sequence? And
Yeah.
should we cut that completely? So just go to wrist checks and drink checks and then move into it?
We'll do a poll. I'm really curious. We'll throw a poll on our Instagram stories and see how people feel about the new watch alert segment. And if they don't like it, we won't do it. I'm okay with that. I say we ask for your best Franken-watch shot.
Oh,
If you have a Franken-watch, whether it's good or bad, tag us in it. Hash it.
okay.
It's the Spring Bar
That's
Podcast.
good. That's really good.
Yeah, tag us in your best Franken-watch photos. And if you have a story to go along with it, let us know.
Awesome.
Also, we are Bulva and Citizen Watch affiliates, so if you plan on buying anything from bulva.com, citizen.com, or even a Caravel for that matter, head on over to our Instagram page. The link is in our bio. It takes you all to those good places where you can purchase online. If you do, it just helps support the show.
We'll take it.
So, until next time, when somebody gets duped for buying a watch that they didn't know what they were buying,
Which they didn't buy from us.
which they didn't buy from us, cheers.
Cheers.